So I feel like one of the most common questions on YouTube or any platform is, which camera do you use to vlog, take video of, stuff like that, right? And I feel like a lot of people say, well, just use your iPhone, which I am actually recording on right now, an iPhone XS. Now, of course, these iPhones are $1,200, brand new iPhone 11 with all the new features. Of course, it's going to be $1,000 at least unless you get a Max. This phone XS was $1,000. Obviously, it has changed now because this price has come down. But again, a lot of people will be asking, you know, like, which one should you get? Should you get the iPhone? Should you go out and spend the money for a big DSLR? Should you get a mirrorless camera? What should you get? Well, guys, in this video, I'm going to be showing you clips of me just doing regular vlogs type style, but with different cameras, and hopefully help you out to figure out which camera you should get. 1 second, guys. All right, so starting off right away, let's go ahead and look at some of these bodies we do have. So, of course, we go ahead and look in my backpack here. I have a couple different options. Now, first off, we can start off with the smaller of the options, and this is actually going to be pretty cheap as of right now because the third generation of this Canon lens or Canon camera actually did come out. Now, this is a point and shoot type of camera, so you cannot add different lenses to it. You can't really do much with it other than, of course, just go ahead and vlog with it, which is actually not a bad camera. Now, this is the Mark II, G7X Mark II. The Mark III, again, did just come out. I believe that is around $700. So if you want to get the Mark II, especially for used, and probably a little bit cheaper for the fact that it is not the latest, and greatest, you can go ahead and do that. Now, the only issue with the Mark II versus the Mark III is the Mark II does not have any type of headphone jack. It also does not have any type of audio input. So if you are trying to use a different type of microphone, for example, this microphone right here, the Rode, which is a very great microphone, or if you do not have the money, you can go for the cheaper option. This is $60. This is $300. So if you want to go cheaper option, it's always great. But this lens right here, or this camera right here, does not have that feature. You cannot add any separate audio to this device. So that means the stock audio is all you get. That's not too bad, but at the same time, the stock audio, for my opinion, is not the greatest. So real fast, guys, let me go ahead and switch over to this right here, and we're going to be going ahead and taking a look at this. Now, the one thing that this does have that's amazing compared to these other cameras is you're able to go ahead and flip this 360 or 180 degrees, and you're able to go ahead and see yourself as you are vlogging or whatever you may be doing, which is actually pretty nice. You can actually move the lens around, and it's really cool. So let's go ahead and switch over. Now, just to keep everything like the same, this is again on the G7 X Mark II. Now, to keep everything the same, I'm using the same monopod to go ahead and record myself. I am also going to be going ahead, and as you will tell, when I switch cameras, I will be using the stock audio for all of these cameras, because yes, when you go ahead and add, the Rode mic, it's going to sound beautiful, but that's not what a lot of people, if you do buy a camera, what you might be going for, because of the fact of the price. So you might be like, okay, I'm just gonna get the camera, no added audio. Of course, you can make it better with added audio, but for this camera right here, you cannot add any audio source combined. You can just have this one based audio source. So it does kind of suck for that reason. Now again, the brand new G7X Mark III does have an audio port. So if you were investing the money and you want to go ahead and do that, you can get the G7X Mark III. Now, the Mark III does have a little bit of a caveat, is that it does not have a little thing at the top so you can mount your audio source. So you're going to have to go ahead and invest into a mounting for your G7X Mark III, but it's still a good option if you want to go ahead and go for that. Now, next one we're going to be looking at, guys, is going to go ahead and be a cheaper vlogging camera that's a DSLR. And what I mean by that is the cameras in my bag right here. We have, I'm going to go into each one of these and showing you guys how the quality looks. But right here we have my Sony, which is, this camera right now is around $2,000. So if you want to buy this, it's about $2,000. We have my and this is a A7 III, and of course this is a 6D Mark II. This is around $1,300, so 13. We have 2,000, and finally, of course, we have our Canon Rebel SL2, and this one right here is actually going to be, in my opinion, my favorite vlogging camera. First off, it's light. Compared to these other cameras, it is so freaking light. Second off, you can go ahead and have a little mounting point, as you can see right here, which is very, very awesome because you can mount anything there. Third off, it does have a headphone jack, and it also has a audio jack. So let me go ahead and pop this open for you guys, and you can see it does actually have those ports, which holding this open one hand is seeming to be an issue. But there we go. So it actually has both ports. So you can add an external mic in a headphone if you want to go ahead and hear yourself. Second off, it also does have a touch screen on the back, which is very nice. Same thing with, of course, the camera you're watching right now. And you can actually go ahead and move this out 90 degrees, which is also very helpful because you can go ahead and see yourself just like you can on this camera. Now, the one I showed you on this camera, though, the one I'm G7X Mark II, is that the only issue is, of course, the only difference is this one you can't go straight up, you can only go side. So it's a little bit different, but it is a DSLR. Now, the reason why that's important is because unlike the camera you're watching right now, this is a point and shoot camera. You cannot change the lens of this camera. You can change the lens of this one, and this one. Now, this is, of course, going to be not a full frame sensor, though. This is a cropped sensor. Therefore, for these lenses, you need to get EFS. You can use a full frame sensor lens on this, but it's still going to be cropped, so it doesn't really matter. Now, if we go into my bag real fast, what are cropped lens sensor lenses look like? Well, first off, we have, this is actually the one, if you buy this SL2, this is the kit lens. It's 18-55, it's EFS, again, crop censored. It is IS, which is very nice. The crop censored cameras are usually, lenses are pretty cheap, and they usually come with IS, which is nice. Image stabilization saves you a lot. That's one, that's an 18-55. We also have my bag here, let me see. We have a 10-18, which is pretty nice, and that's my only crop centered ones is those two right there. Now, a great lens to get if you are ever trying to, even if you're going for a crop centered, not the big daddies right here, you can go with a 55mm. This is actually what I used for my SL2, and it's also what I use actually for my bigger cameras. Now, this lens right here is a full frame sensor, so of course what that means is that it can go into crop censored cameras, but can also go on the big daddy ones. Now, of course, with that in mind, though, this is going to be $400. Compared, you can get a 1.8. This is an f1.4. You can get 1.8 for around 120 bucks if that is something that you're looking for. Again, my opinion is 50mm, beautiful. Such a beautiful lens. 1.4 is even more beautiful, but 1.8 still gets job done. Now, finally, of course, I'm going to go ahead and switch over now to this one right here. Now, I'm going to switch over to this, but I'm not going to use my 50mm. I'm going to use my 10-18, which is going to be a crop sensor, just to kind of show you guys how it does look. So, 1 second, guys. Alright, so now I am on the Rebel SL2. Now, as I said, I am recording this on a 10-18 lens. It is an EFS lens, so therefore it's not a full lens, like a full frame lens, but at the same time it's still a good lens. Now, this lens right here is retails around $300, so if you would like to get this, it will cost you a pretty penny. Of course, you can get the kit lens, which is the 18-55, and it will cost you a lot less. And of course, this cost me $80, but you can also get it with the body, which is actually pretty nice. So with that in mind, guys, again, hopefully you're seeing a difference between the iPhone quality to, of course, the point and shoot type of G7X Mark II to, of course, now the EOS Rebel SL2. Now, just like the G7X Mark II, there is a brand new version of this Canon camera right here, and of course, that's going to be the SL3. SL3, the only big difference is it does record in 4K, which this camera does not. Now looking at my other cameras real fast, we do of course have a 4K camera. This is not shooting 4K, this is 1080p 60 FPS. This is 4K at 30 FPS or 1080p at 120 frames per second. So 120 FPS for this Sony camera. Now, real fast, I want to go ahead and before I switch over to the big daddies, I do want to go ahead and show you some lenses that we do have for these bigger cameras. Now, of course, I did to show you the 50mm, but we also, of course, have another lens which is 17 to 40mm. Now, this is not IS, but once you get to the Sony, I'll go ahead and explain a little bit more about that. Next thing we have, of course, is going to go ahead and be the 70 to 200mm. Now, this is an f4. This retails for around $600, so it's not a bad option if you are going to full frame lenses. Now, of course, you won't not be using that for a vlogging lens. If you want to use a vlogging lens for a full frame camera, this one actually does a pretty good job. Now, with all these crop censored cameras, what you have to remind yourself is that they are not what they exactly say. For example, what I mean by that is when it says a 10 to 18, which is a Canon lens I'm showing on right now, because it's crop censored, you times it by 1.6. So 10 times 1.6 equals 17. Now it's around 16. 16, of course, that's going to be what this is. So again, if it's a crop censored camera and you have an 80mm, you take 80 times 1.6, which gives you exactly what it is. Now, the one thing I like about this lens right here, or this camera right here, is the autofocus. And honestly, this is what I say, in my opinion, I'd rather vlog on my SL2 rather than my iPhone, my G7X Mark II, my Canon 6D Mark II. Probably not the Sony. The Sony is actually really nice. But I'd rather do that, and the reason why is because I feel like this gives me the best autofocus. It tracks my face, it finds my face, and I'm able to go ahead and see it completely perfectly no matter where I go, no matter what I do. This gives me the perfect angles for everything. You guys can't see it, but this is a little box around my face, and that is following my face all over the screen. So guys, now I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the 6D Mark II. Now, the body you are seeing right here is a little bit different than what it actually looks like. I have a battery pack installed at the bottom. So this is it's a little bit smaller. It's not as big, but it is bigger than the SL2 you're seeing right now. One second, guys. Now, hopefully my arm is not dead because it is an arm workout. Obviously, being a lot heavier than the SL2, being a lot smaller of a camera, this is, of course, going to be the 6D Mark II, which, if you vlog on this camera, God bless you, because the weight of it is just insane compared to the SL2. I really didn't realize how, small and lightweight the SL2 was until I freaking tried the 6D Mark II. And that's why, another reason why I know a lot of people who do vlogging and does video, they go with the Sony mirrorless cameras. Now, this is, again, a Sony mirrorless camera. It is absolutely beautiful. It does cost $2,000 though, but it is still a great camera to use. Now, the beautiful thing about, of course, using Sony cameras, and I believe you can also get this with the Canon, but if you have Canon lenses like I do, you can actually go ahead and get an adapter, which costs anywhere from $100 to $400, depending on what you get. This adapter right here is actually one I have by Alston. This is an off-brand adapter, so this is not the, Metabones $400. Sigma, I think Sigma also has a $100 adapter. But I use this one because it had a lot of great reviews, and honestly, it does the job for me perfectly. Now, for video sake, never get an adapter from Canon or Sony to Canon to use Canon lenses on your Sony camera, because you will see how bad it is. And it's nothing wrong with the adapter. It's just that if you go ahead and shoot video with an adapter on from a Sony to Canon lens, you're gonna have to shoot it in manual focus. You can't shoot automatic focus, which I know a lot of people like to use. I'm using this in automatic focus. I also have all my other shots in automatic focus, autofocus, I can't call it automatic autofocus, and of course the Sony. If you use an adapter, use a Canon lens, you have to go ahead and use a manual focus. Now, the one thing that you will be hearing during this video, probably most likely, is the lens making a noise. Now, not all lenses make noises, but some of them, especially the older Canon lenses, I think it's called the USM motor, that makes the noise, because of course, that's, it's a little bit more noisy. I can't explain why, but there's a new STM motor, I believe it's called, that is a lot less noisy. But with that in mind, you're not going to hear that noise when we switch over to the Sony. And also with the Sony, I am not going to be using a Canon lens, which I can use again. I can use a Canon lens on my Sony for one reason, obviously the auto. Actually, no, we're going to do it too. We're going to show you a Sony lens, which is a kit lens you can get, which is around $300 with this new $2,000 camera. The A7, the A7 III, and I'm going to go ahead and after that I'm going to show you what it looks like recording a video with the adapter on, which isn't bad. So you'll see a little bit different. So, one second, guys. If you're going to get this this camera, the A7 III, or if you're going to get the A7S II, or you're going to be getting the you go way back to the A7 II, depending on what you get, right? It doesn't have the camera that flips up, the one that every Canon camera seems to have. It doesn't have that. And it really ticks me off because I can't see myself right now, guys. I am looking, I don't know if I'm in frame, I don't know what, because how these lenses are is that once you hit that record button, the little thing crops and it gets a little bit smaller than the normal, how it looks normally. So, you can't see. Now, it's not bad if I'm like flipping this camera around and I'm recording, oh guys, look at this, right? I can see that. But once I flip that thing around and I'm looking at myself, I don't know if I look ugly. Guys, I might look ugly in this picture, but I don't know. With that in mind, though, this is, of course, the non-adapter version. This is a legit, this is a Sony lens on this Sony camera. So this is the normal, kit lens you get if you do buy this camera. Again, it's a $300 lens, so it is a pretty good lens. But, of course, with that in mind, it's also, I don't know, just... I like my Sony, I like my Canon lenses. So we're going to go ahead and switch over with the adapter, which I said already, guys. We do have a adapter right here, which is not going to be the adapter that is $400, the Metabone one, or, again, I'm not using Sigma, so it's just using that. With that in mind, let's go ahead and switch over and see how this video looks. One second, guys. And now we're using the adapter on, so a Canon lens on a Sony camera. Now, this is actually a 17-40, the same one you saw me record with on the 6D Mark II. So this exact same lens, not the camera, but the lens. This is recording on a Sony A7 III, which of course is going to be the latest in this alpha lineup for Sony. Now, this does compare a little bit. I cannot see myself, as I said before, because Sony have the flip camera. Please add that to your next device because I want to see myself. You can move out this LCD screen very nicely. You just can't do it as nicely as you can for the other ones. You can't have it flipped. No 180s, no 360s, no 90s, no 45s. I'm not even sure why I said 45. But I am not using, again, this is all stock audio sources, so no special audio sources added. Now, guys, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe button. I'm going to be uploading camera content on this channel from now on. So if you like camera content, you like learning about cameras, you like looking at cameras, you like my face, hit that subscribe button, guys. Let's go ahead and start this new journey together. See you guys next one. Peace out.